Hello everyone, my name is Tyler Otto, and I'm so excited to be with you today to discuss this session, which is cultivating culture in a fully remote firm. Now, I love this topic, but before we dive in, I feel like I should at least give you a little bit of sense of who I am and why you should, consider spending the next 30, 60 minutes looking at this goofy looking face. And so, allow me to jump in if I will. First off, my name's Tyler. And I am the president and founder of Specialized Accounting. Now, that's not true. For those of you that have heard me speak elsewhere, I am not the founder. That's my wife, the brains of the operation. And yes, I stole this firm from her. But that story's not either here nor there. We are an outsourced hospitality accounting firm. So we deal a lot with hotels, restaurants, spas, but hospitality is our jam. That's my background. That's where I came from. And that's where we focus on. Not only that, I'm going to get my goofy looking mug out of the way. But I am also the host of the Unaccountable podcast, where me and my partner in crime, Jeremy Van Grohl, every other week get on and do a game show format of updates, product news, industry standards, and a little bit of bromance, all mixed into an hour-long episode. For those of you that need CPE credits, I highly recommend you go give it a listen, or at least give it a download so we get the clicks. A little bit more about me. I got my MBA from Phoenix, I am a Main Street Tax Pro certified, and I completed drug and alcohol resistance education back in the 5th grade. My mom's pretty proud of that one, so I figure I'll keep it on my resume. But more importantly, I love building communities. That is one of my favorite things. Like in my 20s, I was the one always organizing game nights or events. I love building a place where people can get together with like-minded and enjoy what they're doing. And that's essentially what we are doing when we build our companies and cultivate that culture. But to really drive home the point of why culture is important, I feel like it's necessary for us to go back and look at 1900 pharmaceuticals history. You see, in 1897, there was a young chemist named Felix Hoffman who was looking for a new remedy for arthritis for his father because the treatment at the time was known to wreak havoc on your digestive system. Well, he spent a couple years, perfected a new method, a new treatment, and after 2 years of research and development, his employer at the time, a little company called Friedrich Bayer and Company, they released this drug to the world. Now, it was a game changer. Since then, this drug has been in around 700 to 1,000 trials per year in the last 120 years. This drug at first was found to help with headaches, cold and flu symptoms, menstrual cramps, sprains and strains. Then they started using it for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes. Doctors began to even giving it to heart attack patients or stroke victims. And then they saw that it would be helpful for thinning the blood for surgeries. And then beyond that, they saw it could treat pericarditis, and it's even been shown to help prevent some types of cancers. There's more studies even ongoing. Now, this drug, if you haven't already guessed, by Bayer and Company, it's aspirin. Something that we all know and love. It's been touted as the miracle drug because it gets used everywhere. Well, what if I told you that we too have something at our disposal that when taken properly can increase sales, increase client retention, improve quality control, reduce employee turnover, improve efficiency, and drive profit? Well, that's what we're talking about today. Company culture. You see, if you can get the culture piece of your firm right, you'll have better staff stick around, better clients that you're working with because you're attracting the right people, and better processes because you have that continuity of staff that enjoy their work. And so I'm going to go through my list today of what I think has driven culture within my firm and what I've seen several other firm owners do as well. So let's just jump right into it. Let's go, as the kids would say these days. First off, let's talk about video recordings. One of the things that I love that we do in our firm is the moment someone starts, they go through our onboarding series. Now, at this point, our onboarding series is a couple of years old. My background is like the wood paneling in the old basement we used to have, and pretty sure I'm wearing a beanie through half of it. But it's still an introduction to our firm. It allows people for the first week to go through all our norms and processes, learning about the systems we use, how we communicate with our clients, why we do what we do, what the month-end close process looks like. But they're seeing my face, hearing my voice, seeing me make a complete fool of myself on camera while I'm explaining how we do accounting. And it's creating a relationship. It's setting a standard for how our firm operates, how it's okay to communicate, and how it's okay to be fun. That's the first introduction they get for the whole first week they work here. And then they start coming on to team meetings. So they've had time to learn and adapt. We're all simple creatures, monkey see, monkey do. Well, we see what is expected of us. And now when we show up to our first team meetings, we feel that freedom to behave in the way that our firm promotes it. And so that onboarding series, I highly encourage any of you that are looking to add staff and bring them on, and you want to get this tone right from day one, put together a video onboarding series. It does not have to be amazing. It does not have to be magical. You can go back and re-record, but get something out there, because those employees, this is their first experience with your firm, and they're going to follow that lead. Highly recommend it. For those of you that want to know more details, feel free to reach out to me. Ours, like day one, is some of the basic systems like our password manager and our phone system and other stuff. Day two is a lot of our norms, our policies, how we communicate, what our deliverables are to our client. Day 3, 4, 5, it's all about how we do our month-end close and what our reconciliations look like and what our backup looks like. It's a great series, but it's not perfect and it's constantly needing to be improved upon. Feel free to reach out if you have more questions about how you can set up your own. Second is team trainings. Now, once we get our staff in, we also need to continue educating them every so often. And so as we release new trainings, new updates, yes, we could just put together a boring SOP and just write it, but instead, I want to put it in video format. I want to put it so that staff can go back, reference it at any time. And again, they're hearing the tone, the tenor of our company and how we communicate. Again, communication drives everything. Seeing how my body language and my word choice, or even just how upbeat or depressed I am, can really drive the company culture. So I'd recommend, if you have trainings coming up, some you can do live, which I will talk about here in a minute, but other ones, try putting together a video process with it that makes the whole experience more enjoyable. They get to see someone smiling, enjoying talking about this topic, than rather a dry Word document that was put together with ChatGPT. So, next up, the month-end reviews. Now, this feels like a lot of the newer firms. This is now common practice. But when I first started talking about culture several years ago, it didn't feel like it was common practice yet. Where at the end of the month, when you are preparing financials for your client, I would argue everyone should be sending a video recording 2 to 5 minutes long, no longer than 5 unless it's really necessary because you're going to lose your clients. But you're sending a video recording of you walking through the financials, much like I'm doing here. I'm using Loom. I know other people use like Bomb or Movavi with Snagit, or, there's all these different tools out there, but you should be sending video of you walking through the financials. Now, probably a couple of you are like, time out, Tyler. We're talking about building your firm and your staff. Why are we talking about sending videos to clients? First and foremost, clients are part of your company. Yes, the rest of this presentation, we will be touching on the client side as well, because if you have clients that are a lot like your culture and staff, if you're attracting them, your staff enjoys working with them. If you're attracting, because I don't know what PG rating we're allowed to go on this webinar, but let's just call them the jerks. If you're bringing on a lot of jerk clients, that's also going to really hurt your internal company culture. So if you can set that tone and tenor doing your month-end reviews and, letting them see your face, hear your voice, and start to build that relationship with you, you're going to really help the culture of your firm grow in the right direction. Same thing with your sales presentations. When you prepare a proposal, I always do a video, or, hey, hear me out. We actually just hired a salesperson. I'm actually handing this off for the first time, but we want the client to see us and know that we are real people and start that relationship with us. Now, it's hard to get this right. It takes time practicing this, but what I will argue is you need to become a master at scripting your personality in all of this. Now, I've done this long enough. I feel like I'm decent at it when I am doing this on the fly, doing a sales presentation or whatnot. I've done this enough that I have my, my standard jokes, my standard isms, my phrases that inspire confidence in hospitality owners, because I'm talking about putting heads in beds and how we can, decrease their cost per occupied room. I know how to do that. But for those of you starting out, or those of you that are really working on it, you need to find ways to script in your personality. I used to keep a list of dad jokes on the wall over next to my monitor so that if I needed to roll a really bad joke out there, like, what do you call a rooster staring at a pile of lettuce? A chicken sees her salad. It's not great, but I'll tell you what, if I was doing a sales presentation and there was a pause while something was loading, I would just tell dumb dad jokes. I would be ready to throw that into my script so that the client would just have some reason to be like, oh my gosh, this is the most cringeworthy accountant ever, and they would still hire me. Find ways to script in your personality. One of my favorite ways to do it is I'll first record something, and then I'll go back and listen to it, and then I'll try to insert, like, how would I heckle myself? How would I put in self-deprecating humor? Because I've already gotten the content out. Now how can I put personality into it? Why does all of this work, though, the video recordings? Why is this important in building culture? Well, you have to understand there's this new phenomenon that a whole bunch of social scientists are studying called parasocial relationships. And this is relatively new in human history. A parasocial relationship, you see them all the time. It's where it's essentially a one-sided relationship, right? Like, you think of it in the context of there's a celebrity, a personality, someone where through video, you are seeing that person all the time, hearing their voice, learning about them, and you start developing a one-sided relationship where you start to bond with that personality. You like them in a sense of like they're someone you want to get along with, you admire, and at the same point, they have no idea you exist. I mean, that kind of feels like most of my college dating experiences, right? The other side didn't know I exist. But that being said, this is wonderful for our firms because we can continue to develop that relationship even if our employees or our clients aren't on the other end of that video at all times. And it's still being studied right now because think about it, it wasn't until that long ago that we could send video or people could be consuming content of us on YouTube or whatever else, before the internet. So we're still figuring out how this plays into long-term social relationships. But it's a huge benefit for you if you're getting your face out there, your voice out there. I think back to a presentation I once heard from Kate Johnston, who runs the Bookkeeping Side Hustle group. And she was touting some facts from a study about how when people see someone's face more often, they start to find that person physically more attractive. Like it's an appealing face they're drawn to because they become comfortable with it. And man, with what I'm working with, I need that sort of help. So get your face out there. It's going to do your wonders. Get that voice out there. Video recordings. That's step number one. But let's take that even further. How do we do this in our meetings? Now, I'm going to start on the company side first, but the water cooler doesn't happen at an entirely virtual company, right? Like, you do not see this at companies where everyone just shows up in the break room and starts catching up and shooting the breeze. That does not happen. So you have to make it happen in an entirely remote firm. And so first and foremost, before I get what meetings we have in place, the biggest thing that I see kill company culture, and I came from the corporate world and this was their biggest problem. Have your video on. When you're in a meeting, be on camera, be present. Nothing screams like you don't know if that person's paying attention than if their video is always off. You feel like they're always doing something else. But the other thing too is, you've heard these stats before. It's something around 80% of all communication is nonverbal, right? It doesn't matter what someone says, but if their tone is one thing and their face just looks annoyed, that tells a completely different story. Versus if someone's explaining a new procedure to you, your financials, anything, and they're smiling, they're nodding, they have that moment of just like, oh my gosh, you just blew my mind. And all of a sudden you're riffing, you're getting excited because you smile back while you continue to explain and they're just like hands on head, just like, whoa. And all that communication can happen non-verbally and you're building that. None of that happens if your camera is off. So when your team members show up to a meeting, invite them to have the camera on and actually require them. When your clients show up to a meeting, ask them to turn their camera on. In fact, be as bold as to put it in your onboarding documents or even your proposals of when we meet, we request you have that on to help build the relationship and ensure that we're giving each other 100% focus. Because people who are off camera tend to be trying to multitask. And we all know we try to multitask, but it doesn't always go well. Next up, One of the things that I love in our firm is the morning lineup. The morning lineup, now I stole this term from the hospitality industry because in hotels, you usually had the morning lineup where the entire staff would stand up, present, hands behind their back, ready for the general manager to come down the line and be like, great, you look fine, your shoes are polished, your shirt's tucked in, this is this. Like, they wanted to make sure everyone was ready for the day and to discuss their marching orders to the entire team. Now, we sometimes have our morning lineup just to make sure Farron's awake and has his pants on, but actually we don't even ask for verification on that. But the main thing is it provides us an opportunity to really quickly go around the room and ask a goofy question of the day. We've had interesting ones from, if you were to dump yourself in a relationship, what would it be? Or when the Olympics are around, what is your odd talent that you can do it at an Olympic level? The surprising amount of people in my firm that said picking stuff up with their toes was their Olympic level talent. Super odd. But you know what? We got to laugh, and I know more about these people because of it. We do this 2 days a week with our staff of 16. And then while everyone goes around and answers the question, which the question is assigned to someone new every day, they also give us an update of what they're working on. This allows me as the head of the company to be in tune with what's going on, give everyone a chance to put a 30 to 60 second update out there, and then also just learn a little bit about the personality. And all of that continues on in chat messages later in the day if there's something that really riffs off. Oh my gosh, I think my firm was about to come to an end once when the question of do beans belong in chili, yes or no, came into the question. The Texans on my team got very heated on this, and fists were almost thrown when someone volunteered the fact that they put pineapple in their chili. Yeah, I invited them to leave the company at that moment. So, morning lineup, I highly recommend you institute something like this. We do an entire company lineup 2 days a week, and then we invite the smaller teams to get together the other 3 days of the week to review everything. It's a great way to just keep that culture alive, keep the communication going. Then, you need to have one-on-ones in place. Manager to direct employee, the opportunity for them to really just go over how they're feeling. Now, there's a lot of great templates out there. Some of my favorite people that speak on how to do meetings, always allow time for a quick social catch up, the compliment sandwich if there's things you need to work on, and a pat on the butt out the door. But allow them time to just catch up and meet the person. That is one of the most important things. And so we're big sticklers on making sure that you have this in place with your employees. Now, the one I love that we implemented, because I stole from a friend of mine who did this, was the lunch and learn. Essentially, once every month, once every 2 months, depending on tax season, maybe it doesn't happen for all of Q1, we get the team together. I give them all $15 on their company credit card, or $20, I don't even remember at this point. And we invite them all to order lunch, jump on an hour-long webinar where I will teach a topic, whether it's sales tax or depreciation, buying and selling businesses, the basics of a tax return. We've gone through so many different things. And the staff, they're usually hungry to learn more, and they're hungry for lunch. It's great. Like, you're satisfying two appetites right at the same time. The lunch and learn is a great way to go about this. And the beauty is, a lot of you are thinking, I don't even know what to talk about. You know what you do? The next time you get pulled into a complicated question by a client, think, I could actually just do a 45-minute discussion on this topic alone, do a little bit of research, prep the staff, do a lunch and learn, have it recorded, save it in your system library, whether you use Notion, Guru, something else, and now you have something for future staff to also learn from. Put it through ChatGPT and get a transcript. Have it put together, a quiz for you. These lunch and learns all of a sudden become continuing education for your staff, and you're really beefing up your company culture by doing that. I highly recommend it. Now, the one thing within all these meetings, all these video recordings, everything we've talked about, is it is imperative that you make sure your background is on brand. Like, let me just pull this up, but you can see here's mine. It's nothing special. Amazon pictures that I got, and also I didn't realize when I'm sitting down, it actually just looks like a picture is upside down because I can't see the top half. It's really bad. Didn't think that one through. But, I've got a basic background that says, hey, I've got a clean casual space. I never wear a tie. I'm trying to set a tone that, hey, we're professional. At the same time, we're not uptight. Every once in a while, I used to have a stained glass art piece back here of a T-Rex riding a tricycle. Yes, that was fantastic. Fell and broke. But that being said, like, do stuff that invites your clients to talk to you, whether you have snowboards back there because that's what you love and you want your clients to talk to you. I used to have a guitar hanging in my old background because I love playing guitar and I wanted a chance to connect with clients who would bring up, theirs. I love woodworking. That's what I do. And when I get a chance, I go on the lathe. Find a reason for your clients to be able to connect with you and have it in there. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be magical. I mean, some of us, we've come a long way since we started doing this. Case in point, humble beginnings. Okay, not a real picture, but still fun. Shout out to the movie Parasite. Next up on our list, how do we preserve company culture while we have it, right? We've just talked a lot about how do we build company culture. Well, before even if you have anything worth preserving or protecting, or before you go about preserving and protecting it, you need to know if you even have something worth preserving or protecting, or if you need to fix it. And the only way to do this is ask. Yeah, you need to ask your staff, okay, what's going on? How is our company culture? And there's a couple ways you can do this. The easy route, I don't know what payroll system y'all use. There's a whole bunch of apps and tools out there. We run our payroll through Gusto, and Gusto has a very easy feature where you can send out a monthly culture survey. Gusto is not unique in this. I don't know of a lot of payroll systems that do it. There are so many tools out there that offer this sort of thing. You could absolutely put it together. Every month, it asks my clients one static question and 4 different questions every month, trying to gauge how we're doing in certain areas. This is a straight up shot from my profile in Gusto for my team. It asked about teamwork. And just know I didn't participate. My wife didn't participate. A couple of employees I didn't want in there didn't participate. So don't mock me for the participation levels. But it always asks the question of, would you recommend specialized accounting as a great place to work? And that's its employee happiness score. And then it asks questions about, how do you feel about the benefits? How do you feel about the teamwork, learning and growth opportunities? It asks all these different questions to help us gauge how we're doing, and it revisits every topic about every 9 months. It cycles through those so you can see, how am I tracking since 9 months ago in the benefits category? And we're working on improving. We're not perfect, but I am sitting here really happy with all 90s over here. But you know what I'm stoked about? And this is why I feel like I can at least talk to building company culture, is we have never gotten a neutral or negative response on the question, do you recommend specialty bookkeepers, specialized accounting? Sorry, that was our old name. Specialized accounting is a great place to work. We always get positive comments with good feedback. And that's because we want to ask our staff and implement based off their feedback. I highly recommend you put in a tool like this, but we don't stop there. Just wait, there's more. The other thing we do is we have a custom survey we put together called the Employee Client Survey. Now, what this is we go through and on a Likert scale, which for those of you who don't know, that's essentially just like a 1 through 5 scale, but instead we rename the 1s through 5s. And we essentially ask 2 questions and we have all our clients listed. The first question is, how do you think the client feels about us? And it's everything from stark raving fan to despises us and neutral in the middle. And for every client you work on, you go down and you rank that client just 1 through 5. And then there's a spot for notes at the bottom if you want to elaborate. And then we ask the question, how do you feel about working with this client? A 5 being absolutely love them, they're amazing, to 1, I dread anytime I see an email come through from them. And they get to rate through that. Once a month, I get updates from my staff where I can go through and see what clients are causing heartburn for my staff. What clients are causing issues for us that, either for some reason we think the client's not happy and maybe we need to focus on how we can improve things for them, or I need to figure out how to improve staff morale around this client because I'm afraid I might lose that team member, right? And so because of that, I make it a point to prioritize the staff. I want to make sure they're happy. I want to make sure they stay around because I can always go find more clients and easily onboard them. I can't go find an employee and in shorter than 6 months have them up to speed on all of our processes and procedures and just run freely. 6 months is best case scenario. Before I can really even have them be an account manager, I'm looking at 12 to 18 months. So I want to prioritize my staff first and foremost. And because of this employee client survey, we do something that I know a lot of firms don't love to do. We fire clients. Now, I'm not saying we go crazy, but in 2023, who did we fire? We fired 3 clients in 2023. And I think we brought on like 20 new clients. We go after bigger ticket clients. So like our average client's like $2,200 a month. Yeah, we fired 3 last year. And then this year, January, March, April, June, I fired clients. And I did the math the other day, but it's around 12 grand a month I've already fired in monthly recurring revenue between those 4 clients. And I'm debating firing another one right now, which would put me right around 15,000 a month in recurring revenue. That's absurd. I'm an accountant. I should be better at math. What is that? 180 grand a year I've fired that I could have to our bottom line. I could be 180 grand a year, that much more profitable. You know what? I'm pretty sure I would have lost key staff members if I didn't get rid of those clients. They spoke down to my team. They said they would do things that were out of scope and demand it. They were derogatory. The scope creep was insane. Or they would do unethical things and ask us to like help cover it up, whether it's like make a strip club charge disappear, or ask us to hide things from other owners. Just weird stuff. Like, no, we're not putting up with that. And yeah, it's slowed down the revenue growth of my firm, but we continue to grow and I have excellent retention of my core staff. So preserve that culture. Show your employees that they are more important to you than the clients are. Now, you don't have to tout this to your clients. In fact, I argue you shouldn't, but that is something you can do that will go a long way with your staff and really keep that company culture strong. Beyond that, I have some policies that really help us promote the culture. The culture isn't just having fun and enjoying work, but also a staff that knows how to operate on their own, can self-serve and scale with us. And so one of my favorite policies that I absolutely stole from my friend Jeremy Van Grohl, my co-host of the Unaccountable podcast. And Jeremy runs nonprofitbookkeeping.com. He has a rule at his firm called the 3 Then Me rule. This one is a rule that says if you encounter a problem, an issue, anything like that, the expectation at our company is that you're going to explore 3 methods of resolving it before you come to me asking for the solution. In fact, you better come to me with saying, hey, here's what I've tried. Here's what I looked at. Can you give me some guidance on if this is right? This is actually part of our first week onboarding series, is going over the 3 Then Me rule and things you can do, like how did we do it on the account historically? Or if we've never done it for this client, do we have any other accounts with other clients where we've done this task? How did we do it with them? Or maybe you go to Google or go to our resource library or ChatGPT or anything. Like, try your different methods out. Maybe even take a stab at building a model and see if that works. But show me that you've done 3 processes before coming to me. Now, I suffer from wanting to be helpful to my staff. So when they come with a question, my default is always to give them the answer. And that is so bad. I'm still working on this, of instead learning to say, interesting question. Tell me what you've tried. If they don't have a response, that's a problem. Even beyond that, ask them, what do you think we should do? You want to hear that they can problem solve for themselves, that they can think through it. So next time when they have an issue, they're instead going to go in the back of their head and go, I should ask Tyler about this, or my manager, but I know they're going to ask me what I've already tried or what I should do, what I think I should do. I should probably come up with that answer or show what I've done before reaching out. The 3 Then Me policy is huge because it establishes a culture of employees solving their own problems, getting creative, and not just becoming task followers that essentially one day are going to be replaced by AI. You want problem solvers. You want thinkers on your team. The 3 Then Me rule is an excellent way to help solve that problem. Beyond that, we have a bonus structure that promotes what we love to see in this company. Getting back to our clients and getting timely financials, that's all stuff we include in our bonus structure, and it's great. But we also do annual performance reviews of our staff. And in those performance reviews, we actually rank how the employees are doing, against their job expectations, but also our company values, which include things like fun, like continuous improvement. Not necessarily Are they the goofiest person, but are they looking to better themselves, or are they improving on their processes? Like, we want to see continuous improvement. And so we do our annual reviews every Q3 each year to let the staff know how they're doing, but then that's also factored into their bonuses. And so we do fun stuff throughout the year to help give them opportunities, but like, we make sure this is important. We will actually financially recognize people meeting our standards and promoting our culture. Highly recommend you find ways to have it influence your compensation structure with your staff as well. Our email signature, this one, actually a client once showed this to me and I absolutely love it. And now our entire staff has this as their email signature whenever they send something. We have specialized accounting. Actually, let's do this in my best radio announcer voice. Specialized accounting supports a work-life balance. While I'm sending this email at a time that is convenient for me, please feel free to read and respond during your own working hours. Now, I love this because A, we're an entirely remote staff. B, how often is it that clients think there's some sort of emergency that they created that needs to be solved right away when it's not? It's not. And this is a nice little reminder at the bottom of, we invite them to have a flexible work-life balance, but we're also telling them that's what we are. Cool your jets. This not only tells our clients how we're going to behave, how we're going to respond, but we're also letting our staff know, like, hey, we're willing to put this out there to every single client to help free you up, protect you from those clients that want immediacy. We had one client that we let go earlier this year on a Monday night at 6 p.m. my time, sent an email for a very advanced tax question, well out of scope of bookkeeping work that, yes, I know how to do, but not my staff. And this is not something they could help with. He sent it at 6 p.m., sent an email at 8:30 the next morning how disappointed he is that no one had jumped on it, and was calling and leaving voicemails by noon the next day, so 3 hours into the workday, on asking why he hadn't heard back from anyone, let alone he didn't send it through our portal where we tell them to do it. He sent it as an email. Like, this is one of the scenarios where you just have to put it out there to your clients. This is how you operate, and protect it. And we let that client go over 2 instances like that of just like, no, we're not going to deal with this. I had that client for about a month and a half before I fired him. The shortest we've ever gone. And my staff was so excited when we did. So email signatures can do wonderful things, and you could take this as far as you want. I've never done this, but I have a friend who has his firm. I'll leave him nameless in case he doesn't want to be mentioned, but maybe I'll call him out after in the socials. But he, after busy season a couple of years ago, had a wonderful out-of-office reply. I will give you a short snippet that included things like, "Thanks for reaching out. Myself and the whole team are currently on a 7-day cross-country laser tag tournament on Mars. It's highly exclusive and very competitive. It is definitely not a bunch of bookkeepers taking a well-deserved break after the dead sprint that is January and February in the accounting bookkeeping industry." Later on, he even referenced, "If your financial statements are on fire, or if you are on fire, please feel free to call me. Maybe the fire department, though, first." You get it? He's telling clients to calm down. These are people too. They've worked hard, and if you have an emergency, you can get a hold of them. But unless it's emergency, you need to move on and just slow down. Clients that need immediacy, that have the high demands, you better be charging them a significant amount of money. And I mean over $5,000 a month if they're going to expect drop everything for them all the time sort of work. You shouldn't be doing that. And these sort of signatures, I wouldn't be surprised if he lost a client over this. But it also helps secure his staff's contentment. And you know what? If you put this sort of stuff out there, the type of clients you're going to end up getting are the clients that jive with this sort of messaging. I challenge you. Feel free. Any of you, put this out there. You're going to love it when you put your personality out there, you will get clients that relate to you. So we had the email signature strategy. The 2 other things I love, and again, some of this, Jeremy Van Grohl has done much better talks on this, but we have 2 crucial channels in our company. For the longest time, I've always made sure to have a team support channel. One channel that in our Microsoft Teams, but you may use Slack or Google or whatever, we have a channel where staff can go in and they can post a question, whether it's technical, as far as like IT information, or whether it's technical accounting, or how they would deal with a solution. And it pings everyone on the team when they have that question. When it was only 4 of us, I was usually answering all of them. But nowadays, the entire staff jumps in. The people that have been here a year or two are jumping in and helping train that employee up, give them guidance on what to do. It's been fantastic, and it allows the staff a place to really support each other because, to be honest, it's so easy to feel like you're on an island in an entirely remote company, like you don't have support. And so giving team members the chance to support each other is huge because now they start feeling like they're part of a team that cares for them. I would argue most of my staff calls each other's friends at this point, even though some of them have never met in person because they get along. We also have social channels. And I used to, our morning lineup channel where we would meet twice a week, it would always have gifts and, mocking people for putting pineapple in their chili. But since then, we've implemented a couple of other channels. Two of my favorite ones that are just dedicated, and you may stop and say, hey, Tyler, this is too many channels. I don't care. It's worth it. We have the water cooler. Thank you again, Jeremy Van Grohl, for that idea. And the water cooler really is just funny, amusing stuff. And man, we talk about some of the things we've seen on clients' books or cool things going on in the industry. A client who's in Texas that went through a hurricane and posting pictures of all the damage and just what's going on. But we just share what's going on in life. Someone's husband just got a certification that's really cool, or someone picked up a new hobby of doing metal detector stuff on the beach and what they found. And cool, we just want to hear about it. The other thing that's been super fun is we have a wins and losses channel. Inviting team members to share those wins, whether it's a client that just is never happy that sent a compliment and man, we post it in that channel and way to go team. Or, a client has an amazing, nice thing to say in an email. We post a screenshot, our sales gal getting her first consult closed or her first sale closed. Yes, let's get that in there. The other day I finished a certification. I got that in there. Give the team opportunities to celebrate with each other and even losses that are worth learning from. Apparently I missed a certain deadline. Who knew that you have to fix any Roth contributions that are disallowed because of how much the client makes by October 15th. Most of our staff probably is not familiar with that. And if you get burned by it, feel free to put it in the losses channel. Be like, guys, I missed something. It was brutal. Here's what I learned. And let's talk about it. Let's learn. Let's not shame it, but put it out there. The wins and losses channel has been awesome for us. And it's a way to debrief and deep dive. I absolutely love it for our company. Highly recommend it. If you are interested, Jeremy Van Grohl has talks on this that are even far beyond. He is a master at this. Maybe reach out to him for some advice, or if enough people reach out, maybe we address it on our podcast. That being said, few more key things that are important. We talked about how to preserve this culture, but hiring and firing might be one of the biggest things. As this needlessly joyful stock image, which I can't imagine ever getting a job in, high five. But as this image needlessly depicts, hiring is crucial. This needs to be a celebratory moment. We talk about how can you train culture? It's hard. It's really hard to train culture. In fact, it's more easy to import it. Find people that model the culture you want. For that reason, our job description, it identifies everything that we want to see in staff. It's playful and it's banter. It invites people to drop references to cheesy 80s music or The Princess Bride near the very end. We kind of tease that out of them. And the people that respond throwing in a Prince Humperdinck reference or AC/DC, we are stoked because we realize, okay, they're willing to put their personality out there, to be playful, to try something out while being professional. And that's one of the greatest things we do. Not only in our job description do that, but we also, we have our values listed. We make sure that people have those through our tests and our quiz. But our quiz also makes sure they have that problem solving capability where there's ambiguous questions where we want to see how they resolve them. And then part of that hiring process is they have to record a video on Loom like this of them walking through their answer. I want to see how they're going to communicate what they saw, what their issues were. We've hired people that got questions wrong, but they explained their logic, how they worked through it, and even admitted that they were possibly fallible. And I'm like, you know what? We can work with that person. We can train them on skills, on how to do their problem solving, their if this, then that. We can't train you how to be personable, how to care, how to connect with other people, how to be charismatic. No. So instead, we hire for that. So test their communication, make them do a Loom video more than just an interview, have them do several interviews. That's something we're now toying with to get the right people in the door, but have a way to test their communication. And even more importantly though, than the hiring, you gotta know when to fire. And firing sucks! Oh my gosh, I can't say this enough. I've had to fire 3 employees in the almost 4 years we've been open, and it never gets easier. It honestly sucks. I still deeply care for those people, though I know they probably have very bad things to say about me now because they thought they were crushing it, and there were some egregious things that were happening, things that were getting missed, things that were getting ignored, not doing the work they're saying, doing time theft. There's just things that happen where I believe these are still really good people, but they had to go. They were setting tones that didn't work out. They were ignoring blatant rules. They were showing up on calls in the car with people in the background talking, not even paying attention on calls that were supposed to be client facing and important. Things that were addressed. And while they were great people, we had to let them go because I didn't want to start setting a tone saying it's all right for this person, but not for the rest of you. That's going to cause division, divisiveness. People are going to be like, well, that person apparently is more special. Why can they get away with this and I can't? And imagine if your entire firm of professionals all of a sudden start showing up in their car with background noise, camera off for their meetings. That would kill your company. So unfortunately, as the saying goes, slow to hire, quick to fire. Make them go through a lot and make sure they're a good culture fit. But you know what? No one's perfect on hiring. In fact, you almost take it as a failure of yourself when you have to fire someone because you wished so badly. But you know what? I don't think anyone's ever been batting 1,000 for hiring. It's not there. So identify the problems. Don't fire right away. Obviously, you need to coach them up, give them opportunities to improve if it's nothing egregious like theft or other issues. But if it's not working out, you need to figure out if they need to get moved to a different seat on the bus, a different position in the company, or it's just time to let them go. And you know what? It's hard, but once you do it, you're really happy you did. Now, you're probably not high-fiving like in this picture here, but it's well worth it. So give it a shot. That being said, really, when it all comes down to it, what's the prescription here, right? Take it back to our medical analogy. What do we need to do? I've thrown so much at you today for ideas, and it's impossible to implement all of these. You know what you can do? You can try something. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to mess up. You're going to need to go back and fix it. It's not going to be perfect, but you know what? Try something. I remember one of the first things I did was I tried to make myself constantly available. I invited my staff before the 3 then me rule to reach out with any questions, day or night, bug me. I'll always be available on my phone, Microsoft Teams. I will answer anything. And then my staff, and I touted we were super flexible. Work when you want. Well, now I'm getting messages all hours of every day. I can't eat, sleep, breathe without getting a Teams message. And it was ruining my life. And I realized I made a mistake. I thought I was going to build up culture by giving people that much access to me and that much freedom. And really, it was a huge problem. We needed people working similar schedules, 9 to 5, so the collaboration could happen in real time. People would work together. And we had to start putting the 3 then me rule in place so that people would problem solve and self-support rather than become dependent on me for answers. So you're going to try something. You're going to make mistakes. Look to fix it. But the culture, you're going to get better clients in-house when you are showing the culture that your company has. You're going to get better employees. You're going to keep the good employees around and you get rid of the cancers before you can. Because man, they bring with it so many symptoms, everything from losing your hair to irritable bowel. Like, it happens. You don't want it. Get rid of the bad employees quick. Promote that culture. It's going to cure almost everything in your business. I can't say enough about this. That being said, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or email me, tyler@specializedat.com. Even more importantly, though, go give us a check out at Unaccountable. We're on the Earmark app for CPE credits. We'd love to have you there. It's an accounting game show format where we go through product news, industry updates, and a little bit of shenanigans all rolled into one. We'd love to have you there. Beyond that, love to connect. Feel free to reach out and hope to answer your questions in the chat. Thank you, everyone.